Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. All right, so this will be the last segment of the day. This is my best and worst of the week. All right, so we're going to start with worst. Okay, so we can end on a high note. All right, so I mentioned this earlier when I was reviewing the matches at Night of Champions. Worst. The rivalry feud, whatever you want to call it, between Dolph Ziggler and Rusev. Oh man, I honestly I cannot wait for this feud to end because it makes me cringe when I watch, with Summer Rae, having an affair with Rusev. It's just I don't even I cringe talking about it. I mentioned before it's one of the reasons why people make fun of pro wrestling because of stuff like this. The thing is, and also another thing, we've seen it already. It was cool in the late '90s, but that's because we've never seen anything like it. But they've gone back to it again and again and again and again. It's just starting to get tired. And also because this is the era of wrestling where it's the TV PG rating. Not allowed to really be that edgy. There's really no point. It's just a whole bunch of elementary school nonsense. So it's it really doesn't it doesn't attract audience. The audience is bored with it. Whenever Summer Rae would speak, the fans would chant boring, boring. And they should because no one, and I repeat, no one wants anything to do with this feud. They just want to bury it deep, like John Cena and his young opponents, and just bury it deep and just forget it ever happened. And there's a whole bunch of feuds like that in professional wrestling. A lot of them I can't even say on air because they're so ridiculously graphic and just dumb. That's the best way to put it. And a lot of them wouldn't fly today. Especially with the way the country is, especially with the way society is. People are really, really sensitive and they get offended by a lot of things. A lot of that stuff wouldn't fly today. But this feud is I just want it to end quickly. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the run that Cesaro was on, or lack thereof. If you're going to go along with me in this ride here on this show, you're going to know that I'm a huge fan of Cesaro. Cesaro is one of my favorites currently on the roster. Not my only favorite, but he is one of my favorites. He often gets criticized for not being entertaining, during promos or whatever, and he's not. But when this dude steps in that squared circle, he can go at it with anyone. And when I say anyone, I mean anyone. This dude is innovative. He will do something new every single match, and that's why I like him. And he has a cult following. That's the best way to put it. If you know the Cesaro section, that is a cult following. Now, obviously, I'm not like that because I don't go to the events. Too much money. But he has a section all dedicated to himself. So the fans love him. He's one of the best, most talented guys on the roster, and he gets absolutely no love from the WWE creative team. I'm not saying push the guy because of his lack of promo skills. He's probably not going to be WWE champion, at least not yet, if anything. But it's just he should at least be a multiple-time U.S. IC champion, or at least at this point in his career, he should have won both at least one time. He's won the U.S. title before, but he should have at least won an Intercontinental Championship. And Cesaro now is pretty much jobbing. How are you going to have Cesaro, one of the most talented guys on the roster, lose to Big Show, who is who, by the way, neither one of those guys. It's a shame that Cesaro wasn't on the Night of Champions card, but neither was Big Show, which makes sense because Big Show is a fossil. The only real guy from the Attitude Era remaining, him and Mark Henry. Mark Henry's a jobber now, so I can't really talk about that. Well, I can, but, what is it to talk about? He just loses. They have him jobbing the Big Show, and I'm sitting here Big Show is, he's elderly, and he does not have the ability to match up with Cesaro in terms of skill, in terms of speed, in terms of strength. Maybe strength, but that's just because he weighs over 500 pounds. So he doesn't have to do much. But Cesaro, he's jobbing to Rusev. It's really awful what they're doing to him, and he has his critics. But this dude does not deserve to sit here and be jobbing to old relics like the Big Show, who's almost 50. It's ridiculous. That was actually my next topic, but I'm now going to talk about the disappearance of Y2J Chris Jericho. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Jericho, he was the third mystery partner for Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns against the Wyatt family, and he lost the match. He did some heelish tactics at the end. He bumped them on his way out of the ring, and people thought, oh, this might lead to something. Nope. Monday night, no show. Instead, we got Randy Orton, which is actually my next topic. The quick return of Randy Orton. If you say he's written off TV, then that means it's going to be at least a week or two. That doesn't mean, he misses a week. Oh, No, excuse me, I messed up there. If you're gonna say he's written off TV, that should at least mean like a month or 2 months maybe. Not he misses 1 week, comes right back. So maybe Chris Jericho decided not to come back after all. For like a little late run. So who knows? But the fact that he didn't show up at all kind of disappointed me because I love Jericho. People love Jericho, and he just was a no-show completely. This is more unfortunate than bad, but Sting's injury. This is very well. Sting will probably never wrestle again. I would hope that maybe in a year by WrestleMania 32, which is usually late March, early April, that he will come back and maybe have one more match with someone like The Undertaker or someone big. But this injury it looks like it's really, really serious, and I have a feeling that Sting is done. His career's over. He's had a great run. He's 56 years old. I think he's going out on the right note, putting Seth Rollins over, who could well be one of the best of all time. But, I'm not going to jump the gun yet. He has the talent, but we don't know what's going to happen, so I'm not going to jump the gun. But Sting's career is over. You could almost bank on it that his career is over. And this next topic harks back to what I said at the Night of Champions review when Seth Rollins lost to John Cena. Seth Rollins should have had that U.S. title for a longer period of time. Okay, what this reminds me of really is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels in '97 was the WWE champion, and at the time they had a European championship, which is basically at the level of the U.S. title. He had both of those titles, and he had them for a good period of time. Seth Rollins should have at least had the titles for about like 3 or 4 months. At least. But he didn't really defend it against anyone substantial. And the title run was pointless. It was just flat out pointless. Like, what was the point of having him beat Cena at SummerSlam a month ago to a U.S. title, just have him lose it immediately? It just doesn't make any sense. So that really got to me. I didn't like that booking decision. That wasn't really one of the best booking decisions out there. So now I'm going to end it on something light. I'm going to end it with a couple topics I want to talk about. First thing I want to talk about here is the promo by Paige. Now, the Divas Revolution, it was I guess you call it a success. Charlotte ended up becoming the Divas champion. Nikki Bella is no longer, at the top of the Divas division, which is good because she doesn't deserve to be there. There are more talented wrestlers in the division. You have Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch, and Paige, who are all much more talented, much better in the ring than Nikki Bella is. And so they had these teams of 3, which I didn't like. I feel like they botched the Divas Revolution, honestly, because if you're gonna have these call-ups from NXT, you're not gonna have 9, people in Divas division and split them up into 3 teams of 3. That's just wasting the talent. They're basically, getting watered down. Like, oh, we're gonna be in a team. Like, no, you want them all to compete and get that top spot to make it compelling, because it was starting to get boring after a while. Kept saying week after week, Divas Revolution, Divas Revolution, Divas Revolution. But the fact of the matter is that no one really cared at a certain point because they were just all in teams and it was the same matches, same over and over and over again. And so a lot of people were tired of it. I was. But then it all paid off, 2 Sundays ago when Charlotte ended up becoming champion. And then on Monday, the team of Paige, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte ended up, deteriorating because Paige cut a promo very reminiscent of CM Punk's quote-unquote pipe bomb promo in 2011, although obviously not of the magnitude. And she basically called out everyone, and even called out Natalya, who was basically MIA for the entire Revolution. And she came back, and on Monday they had a match, but it wasn't really all that. Natalya was noticeably rusty, and but the fact of the matter is, Paige had an excellent promo, was entertaining, and it was a breath of fresh air, best way I could put it. And then we have the feud between the Wyatts and Ambrose and Reigns. I talked about a little bit with the whole thing with Chris Jericho, but this rivalry is actually really compelling. It's one of the more compelling, feuds in professional wrestling right now. You have, these guys have been going at it for roughly, about a month, and I feel like it should keep going because there's still so many unanswered questions. This could lead to another return, maybe the return of Daniel Bryan, but who knows? This feud is one of the better things going on right now. Now I'm going to talk about another feud between a group, or 2 groups really, that's actually entertaining. It's the Dudley Boys, the Attitude Era fans, the Attitude Era darlings, and the New Day. Now, New Day, they're extremely entertaining, as I mentioned before. These guys, they, whether you like them or hate them, you watch when they're on your screen. And I love their whole rivalry with the Dudley. But the Dudley Boys don't do a lot of talking. That's usually how they do it. And, they're these rough and tumble guys who just go out there and give you a beat. And a New Day, they do it with, entertainment and dancing and all that. And, they basically mock the Dudley Boys' infatuation with tables. Because, Bella Ray always tells Devon, get the tables, and that's their thing. They slam people through tables. And so New Day, they started this whole Save the Tables campaign, this whole petition. And it's a unique story, something that we haven't really seen. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why people tune into Raw every week. It's because of stuff like this. New Day is, if you remember New Day, when New Day first was introduced as a team, they were loathed. Like, they were supposed to be the baby faces, but they were absolutely loathed by the WWE fans. Like, people just thought they were corny and they were cheesy, and people hated it. And then, for one of the smart things that the WWE creative team did, is that they flipped them. They turned them into heels because fans already naturally hated them, and it worked to perfection. That's why New Day is one of the most entertaining, is the most entertaining thing about Raw most of the time, especially mostly every week. And finally, last thing we'll talk about is the whole thing with Kane. Now, as we know, Kane, he was corporate. He turned corporate. He took the mask off, didn't wrestle. Anyway, when he did wrestle very few times, he wore suit pants, which didn't make sense. And then Brock Lesnar injured his leg. I think he pretty much broke his leg. And so he was out for like 2 to 3 months. And he came back at Night of Champions as a masked Kane. But the thing that I like is the fact that they made Kane realize that he didn't realize that he was the demon masked Kane. And so he was basically backstage as like the corporate head of operations of Monday Night Raw. And he had absolutely no idea what happened on Sunday. He had absolutely no idea what he did. And I kind of like the direction that this is going. I know a lot of people are sick and tired of seeing suit Kane, corporate Kane, and they want to see like the monster again. Fact of the matter is, he's 48 years old. Okay, he doesn't really have much in the tank. There's not really much, a whole lot he could do. And so I feel like having this whole split personality character, I feel like it works really, really well for him. Because it's like 1 minute he could be this corporate suck up, to Triple H, and then in the next minute he could be this demon that terrorizes Seth Rollins and all these opponents. Now, one thing I will criticize about this is that they're putting Kane in the title picture, which really doesn't make any sense because Kane, like I mentioned, is 48 years old. He doesn't really have anything left to accomplish. He's already a multiple-time WWE champion. He's wrestled more matches than anyone. Like, if it's a record, he's wrestled in more matches than anyone. I don't know if it's ever or currently in professional wrestling, but I'm pretty sure it's like ever. He's wrestled more matches than anyone. So there's not really much you could do left. I mean, having him in a corporate role, it might, people might get upset about it, but there's not really much for him to do. He's not a main event guy anymore. This isn't 1998. This isn't 2002 where, he was at like really top of his game. This is 2015. He's 48. I feel like him and Sting and Undertaker, actually, because Undertaker's ancient. And these guys should hang it up, so that's really all I have to say. Quick little reminder, Kane and it's been announced that the Kane I gotta get this right. It has been announced that The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar will be in a match at Hell in a Cell, in the Hell in a Cell, at the next pay-per-view. So that's been the only match so far that has been announced, in advance, so far at least. Most of them are announced in advance. But the very, very, very first match has been announced. Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. So they can continue this feud that ended at SummerSlam in a very, very controversial way. And, this feud will hopefully continue on for a little bit longer because Undertaker is over the hill. So this is going to be his last feud, like, completely, and then he would have to hang it up. So that is all I have to say. I know a lot of you are tired of hearing me speak, but I'm going to get some more of me next Monday. So I would like to thank you all for tuning in to this new show I have, Count Out, and hopefully you will enjoy Monday Night Raw. I'll be splitting between that and Monday Night Football because I'm also a huge football fan. Let's go Jets. And I'll be switching between both. So if you're listening, I want you all to have a good day.